While hoping for a deal, the U.S. President Donald Trump says he's waiting for a response from Iran on a proposed peace deal. And the question is the war in the Middle East finally coming to a close? And will the costs of energy finally come down? You're watching the Prime Edition. And of course tonight we have stories on why the residents or the farmers of Trans Nzoia County are up in arms against genetically modified food. Well, that story is coming up here. I told you you're watching the Prime Edition. We are live from Broadcasting House. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Welcome to the nation's most trusted newscast. We have all the stories in the business world, sports, as well as general news, and that is coming after the highlights. Going digital. Records of learners, teachers and institutions to be digitized to enhance accountability in the education sector. Deluge of death. One person dies and several others are displaced by a landslide in Murang'a County, even as weather forecasts indicate a week of heavy rainfall. And season of billions. Safaricom registers a 61% rise in annual profit to 73.7 billion shillings. Well, Caroline Joroge is our sign language interpreter this evening. Welcome to the broadcast. President William Ruto has given the Ministry of Education 2 months to fully digitize the records of learners, teachers and schools to enhance accountability and curb losses of funds through ghost learners and non-existent schools. Speaking at the opening of the 22nd National Education Conference in Naivasha, President Ruto also defended the use of the e-citizen platform for school fees payment instead of cash transactions to enforce transparency and traceability.
Over 2,000 stakeholders in the education sector converged in Naivasha for a 3-day National Education Conference hosted by the Ministry of Education under the theme Driving Education Reforms Through Effective Leadership, Accountability and Collaboration. While opening the conference, President William Ruto pushed for accountability in the education sector, citing the recent audit report that uncovered ghost learners and schools, among other irregularities.
We had 800,000 pupils in primary school. Government paying close to $1.2 billion every year for learners that did not exist.
The president said the Konza Technopolis will be pivotal in digitizing all education records.
In the next 2 months, we're going to be working with Konza Technopolis to make sure that we digitize all the education details of every learner.
He further defended the government's directive on payment of school fees through e-citizen, saying digital payments enhance accountability.
We have some head teachers who have taken us to court that they do not want to pay parents to pay school fees on e-citizen.
The president also cited the recruitment of 100,000 teachers, construction of 23,000 classrooms and 1,600 laboratories as highlights of the government's investment in education. Meanwhile, President William Ruto indicated that the Higher Education Loans Board funding system will be reformed to make it more predictable and sustainable. Speaking at the same event, Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba lauded the proposed increment in the education budget from 503 billion shillings to 767 billion shillings in the next financial year.
In the TVET subsector, enrollment continues to rise steadily, and we are progressing towards our target of 2 million. We are currently at almost 800,000, having moved from 297,000 in the year 2022 when this administration took office.
Joseph Wahungu for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Joseph Wahungu. President William Ruto has congratulated Justice Abdullahi Warsame on becoming the 14th judge of the country's apex court, noting that his wisdom and integrity will play a defining role in deepening public confidence in the rule of law. Justice Warsame was sworn in as a judge of the Supreme Court at State House, Nairobi on Thursday. President Ruto also witnessed the conferment of the rank of senior counsel on senior advocates Evans Thiga Gaturu and Jedaida Wakonyo Warohio. The head of state noted that the Supreme Court, as the nation's top judicial institution, is the ultimate guardian of the Constitution and the impartial arbiter of Kenya's most profound legal and constitutional questions.
I, Mohammed Abdullahi Warsame, a judge of the Supreme Court, do swear in the name of the Almighty God to diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya.
Through landmark judgments, advisory opinions rendered during moments of national uncertainty, and jurisprudence that has strengthened the foundations of our democracy, the Supreme Court has continuously sought to ensure that justice prevails for every Kenyan without fear or favor. As you join your 6 colleagues on the bench, you now assume the solemn responsibility of preserving the court's distinguished institutional heritage.
Also, one person has died and hundreds of others have been left homeless following a landslide in Gathongo village in Mathioya, Murang'a County. Mathioya Assistant County Commissioner Evelyn Matu said that more than 100 people have been displaced and are being sheltered in safer areas. The incident comes amid caution by the Kenya Meteorological Department that the country is headed for yet another week of heavy rainfall.
Gathongo village, Murang'a County. Heavy downpour has left residents on edge. The vagaries of weather have left one person dead and displaced others.
Boma yao ambapo kijana wao mmoja alikuwa amelala usiku iliweza kufagiliwa na matope ambayo ilitokana na mvua. Pande ya juu ilikuja ikafagia nyumba moja ya kulala ambapo kijana alikuwa, na asubuhi ya leo ndio amejulikana na wazazi kwamba alikuja usiku na aliweza kufariki. Na boma yao pia imekuwa affected, kwamba nyumba yao imeathirika, hawawezi ishi hapa kwa saa hii.
The situation is likely to worsen in the coming days given the latest weather advisory. The Kenya Meteorological Department says areas in highlands west and east of the Rift Valley, the Lake Victoria Basin, Central Highlands, including Nairobi, are expected to receive more than 20 milliliters of rainfall within 24 hours. The department warns that the heavy downpour could trigger flash floods, especially in low-lying and downstream areas, even in places not currently receiving heavy rainfall. Counties likely to be affected include Nairobi, Kiambu, Nakuru, Kisumu, Kakamega, Bungoma, Busia, Nyeri, Murang'a, Embu, Meru, Kirinyaga, Narok, Kericho, Kisii, Migori, Nyamira, Bomet, Uasin Gishu and parts of Turkana, Samburu, Kajiado and Machakos, among others. Meteorologists say the rainfall intensity is expected to spread to parts of the northern region before gradually reducing from the 14th of May. Residents have now been advised to avoid walking or driving through moving water, stay away from open fields and trees during thunderstorms, and exercise caution in landslide-prone areas, especially around the Aberdare Ranges and Mount Kenya region. Authorities are also calling on disaster response agencies and county governments to remain on high alert as the country continues to experience the long rain season. Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition.
United Democratic Alliance is set to conduct its primaries on Friday to pick its candidate for the Ol Kalou parliamentary contest. Nomination materials arrived in Ol Kalou town and was stored at Ol Kalou police station ahead of tomorrow's nomination exercise. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's DCP is also anticipated to hold its primaries this coming Saturday.
The Olkalau parliamentary contest set for July 16th is gaining momentum as interested political parties begin to pick their candidates. The ruling UDA party on Thursday ferried nomination materials ahead of the exercise on Friday.
By 4 a.m. in the morning, we are going to dispatch all the gadgets to the respective polling centers. And then in the evening, after the voting has ended, we are going to establish, we are working on establishing a tallying center.
Speaking after receiving the materials, the UDA Elections Board assured party members that the nomination process will be free, fair and transparent.
Tunapigisha kura kulingana na system ambayo inahitaji yule mwenye kitambulisho apeleke kitambulisho yake pale in person na itakuwa scanned na ile gadget yetu.
Sisi kama chama hatuna a preferred candidate. Tunataka watu wote wa Olkalau waweze kudecide wao wenyewe.
According to UDA, the exercise will kick off at 7 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. Rigathi Gachagua's DCP is also expected to conduct its nomination on Saturday.
Ballot papers ya DCP iko safe, iko na enough security features. Uchaguzi itasimamiwa kama ya IBC. Kila mtu atoke nyumbani aende achague yule ambaye anampenda, ambaye ndio atapeperusha bendera ya DCP.
The by-election slated for July is seeking to fill the vacancy left following the death of late MP David Kiarao in March.
Wakuje kwa nomination ya DCP ambaye itakuwa free and fair, mtoe kiongozi moja ambaye atapeperusha bendera.
Meanwhile, a newly formed political party, Msingi wa Utaifa, has condemned the use of goons for political expediency.
Hatutaweza kusikiliza serikali ikisema kuna goons katika nchi ya Kenya, kwa sababu jukumu la security ya kila Mkenya, kuwe na uchaguzi kusiwe na uchaguzi, iko mikononi na mabega ya serikali. Kwa hivyo hiyo tunataka serikali iwe usukani na kusiwe na blame game ya kusema ni upinzani wanafanya hiyo kazi.
The party's officials are also calling on IBC to extend the enhanced voter registration exercise. Give us in mind, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Giverson Minor, for that report. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Diaspora Affairs as well, has decried inadequate funding as a key challenge inhibiting the protection of Kenyans abroad. Appearing before the Senate Labour Committee, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi said the embassy in Moscow, Russia, has only 6 officials with no safe houses to shelter Kenyans rescued from the ongoing Russia special operation. The government is now relying on negotiations with the Russian military to return at least 271 Kenyans who are engaged in the war.
The Senate's Committee on Labour Migration invited the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs to explain measures the government was taking to curb fraudulent enlistment of Kenyans to the Russian military. The Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi decrying inadequate funding of embassies and lack of safe houses for sheltering Kenyans in distress as key challenges undermining government's efforts to protect Kenyans abroad.
We have not been seeing substantial resource allocation for this kind of interventions. In the law, we even proposed to set up a welfare fund, Diaspora welfare fund, to help create some resource for this kind of interventions.
The Ministry of Foreign Relations has admitted it was unable to track AI-generated recruitment of Kenyans who were signing the contracts knowing they were joining the war as combatants.
The large number of Kenyans in the diaspora, and it continues to grow. Therefore, as it grows, we must anticipate increased challenges.
It would be good for Kenyans for you to intervene and tell the president, for example, hey, even as we are dishing 10,000 each to each teacher whom we have hosted here, our foreign missions are suffering.
2 months ago, the Prime Cabinet Secretary led a delegation to Moscow, Russia, where Kenya and Russia committed that there will be no more movement of Kenyans to join the Russian-Ukraine war. The senators, however, are questioning the rationale of the bilateral agreements if Kenyans are still being recruited to join the war.
Since these Kenyans were caught up on the front line from the Russian perspective and they are captured. We also want the Russian Federation to include them when there's a prisoner exchange as one way of ensuring that those Kenyans can come back.
Gishuki Washira, Prime Edition.
Karibu.
A section of human rights defenders have faulted the ruling of the Court of Appeal on criminalization of abortion, saying it has brought confusion and fear among girls, women and health care service providers. They insist that it may restrict women health workers from rendering the services during a rape case, defilement on when a woman's life is at risk.
On Thursday, a section of human rights defenders held a peaceful march in Nairobi in response to the Court of Appeal ruling issued on 24th April 2026, stating that abortion is not a fundamental right. This was in overturning a 2022 decision at Malindi High Court that had recognized abortion as a fundamental right and the protection of women and girls to access these essential healthcare services and protecting healthcare service providers when providing abortion services.
Without that mother, there is no life to that unborn child. So it's unless we protect the life of that mother, it's the only way we can be able to protect our women.
The lobby group added that the decision has brought confusion and could deny women their right to such services during emergencies.
It has done damage because there is no medical practitioners and especially at the community level in the grassroots, in the informal settlement, who will want to risk his life, his career, to attend to a woman maybe who is going to seek for post-abortion services.
The group has asked the Court of Appeal to maintain the culture and the Constitution that abortion care is a fundamental right in life-threatening circumstances.
All we are trying to do, it's unfair, it's unconstitutional, and we are imploring not only the Kenyan people, but also Parliament and all the other actors to ensure that such injustices do not stand.
The Penal Code to be aligned with the Constitution and amending Section 16 of the Children's Act 2022 are not only a legal necessity but also a critical step towards safeguarding the health, rights and dignity of women and girls in Kenya.
They also presented their petition to the Ministry of Health, Gender and Senate. Kasichana Masha, Prime Edition.
Still on Parliament, where the House has been petitioned to pass legislation designed to reduce methane emissions in the country to curb increase of air pollutants, greenhouse emissions and short-lived climate pollutants in the future. The cause came on Thursday during a dialogue on methane emissions in Kenya, where stakeholders sounded the alarm on rising temperatures and increasing climate extreme, urging policymakers to act urgently.
During the media breakfast that brought together legislators, climate actors and environment and science journalists, among others, to discuss methane emissions in Kenya, researchers pointed to Africa and Kenya contributing little to global greenhouse gas emissions, yet highly bearing the brunt of the impacts of climate change.
Agriculture is a huge issue, especially in this region, and agricultural productivity is affected by methane emissions. We see asthmatic cases growing, not just in the developed world, but now increasingly much more in the developing world. We see lost labor because of the climate change impacts and methane being a big emitter.
Locally, waste management, which is a major contributor to methane emissions, is a devolved function. 1.5 million tons of organic waste go untreated each year in Nairobi alone, decaying into methane landfills, dump sites and waterways. Methane gas from anaerobic decomposition of organic waste is 84 times more harmful to global warming than carbon dioxide over a 20-year horizon, making methane the single highest leverage near-term climate target. Senate Clerk Jeremiah Nyegenye argues that methane reduction can only succeed if the county governments are adequately informed, supported, resourced and held accountable.
Effective representation requires more than formal processes. It requires that citizens understand what the issues at stake are. If our people do not understand methane, they cannot meaningfully address it.
Livestock waste and eccentric fermentation in Kenya account for up to 40% of total agricultural emissions. To combat this, Kenya aims for a 32% reduction in emissions by 2030, targeting improved livestock breeding, enhanced forages and scaling up biogas production from manure.
We note that there are a number of regulations and acts we have, but nothing specific for methane. So I think it's upon Parliament now to really structure specific methane regulations, because we're all riding on the issue of normal climate change.
The media is on its part being urged to continue playing its watchdog role and interrogate data, question inconsistencies and hold government agencies accountable for their commitments. Under the theme Enhancing Public Understanding and Parliamentary Action in Methane Reduction in Kenya, the host country is pledging to ensure the perspectives are informed by evidence. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, you're watching the Prime Edition live from Broadcasting House. On this newscast, we shall be looking at the advertising sector and the global trends. If you thought that advertising is on its way out, then you got it twisted. The numbers are looking impressive, with the projections indicating that in the year 2026, the revenue from advertising will reach about 1.3 trillion trillion US dollars. Yes, the US market will continue to dominate this sector. And the question is, what are the trends in Kenya? I have a guest who will be helping us to break down the numbers, so you had better stay right here. We are taking our first break and then we are coming back with more.
Wakenya, ni wakati mwingine wa kuhakikisha kuwa umefile KRA returns. Je, uko rada una challenge yoyote? Usiwe na shaka. KRA wakishirikiana na KBC Channel 1 wanakuja hapo ulipo kusaidia kufile returns na kulipia ushuru wako. Jiunge na msafara wa KRA Roadshow, uwe fiti mambo ya returns. Ijumaa tarehe 8 mwezi Mei, tunazuru eneo la Kiambu kuanzia Kikuyu, Limuru, Kimende, Kagwi, Githunguri, Kiambu Town, Banana na kisha tumalizie Ruaka. Tarehe 30 Juni iko mlangoni. Usingoje hadi dakika za mwisho. File KRA returns mapema. Ishi bila stress. Jijue, jibeta. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
UN?
Who's we? You and me?
Yeah. Of course. Any couple not planning on marrying is just messing around. A decent woman like you wouldn't do that, would you?
What does that mean? Your old way of just flipping the table and taking off? That's a queen, not a girlfriend.
Love has really done wonders for him. He's not bedridden anymore. He even runs faster than before.
That's right.
Welcome back. An affidavit containing a medical report by a doctor at Karen Hospital filed last minute in the petition challenging the impeachment of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has introduced new issues, prompting the court to set a day for its hearing. Thursday afternoon, the respondents urged the court to expunge the alleged medical record, arguing that it was inconsistent with the procedures and be allowed to cross-examine the doctor who saw the affidavit to shed more light on the patient's medical records. And as Ruth Wamboi reports, the lawyers of the National Assembly and the Senate have maintained that the impeachment proceedings were done in accordance with the law as elected body.
When the proceedings came up for hearing on Thursday, lawyers representing Rigathi Gachagua further challenged the Senate's handling of the impeachment, particularly its decision to continue with the hearing despite his illness.
But again, look at the affidavit of Honorable Jerry Maina. Again, Honorable Jerry Maina is not any other person. She's an MP, a member of parliament, who sat all through in that parliament, who sat and contributed to that motion. When she tells you that in her constituency there was no public participation, who am I to deny?
In regard to public participation, the intentment of the Constitution and of the citizens of Kenya when we promulgated the Constitution was that public participation must follow a process that produces nothing but the best.
The three-judge bench had the Senate improperly relied on internal standing orders requiring impeachment proceedings to be concluded within 7 days, yet no such timeline exists under the Constitution. The petitioners argue that instead of deploying the select committee route, the House chose plenary hearings, which was a procedural failure that violated the former deputy president's right to a fair trial.
Even the concept of revolution is founded on recognition of culture and ethnic identity. Therefore, in the face of Kenya's diversity, the Constitution requires that various state officers led by the president should take into account ethnic and regional diversity in making public appointment and allocation of resources.
According to the affidavit by cardiologist Dr. Dan Gikonyo, President William Ruto called him directly to inquire about Gachagua's health on the day the Senate voted to remove him from office.
Mr. Mwite's senior counsel has had over 1 year, 2 years, to explain the whereabouts of the petitioner to appear before Senate. And my lord, it is surprising that this affidavit comes almost 2 years after the adjournment by Senate on the 17th of October 2024. That is what I want to add, my lord. My lord, this affidavit is grossly prejudicial.
Can he confine himself to admissibility so that we deal with that issue? With regard to the other content, depending on what the court says, there will be time to go into it.
It states that Gachagua had been admitted to Karen Hospital between October 17, 2024 and 20th October 2024, suffering from severe chest pain.
Hospital records to prove that, which I told you are system generated. When you get the date of discharge, given at the top of that exhibit, GDKG3, it is 20th November 2024, 1:36 p.m. More than a month later.
Jurisdiction.
And after Professor Githu Muigai submitted this evening as the first respondent, the other respondents sought an adjournment from tomorrow's proceedings, instead choosing to grill Dr. Gikonyo on Wednesday.
This is not accidental draftsmanship. These are deliberate constitutional choices that vest the impeachment power firmly and finally in the hands of Parliament, and not the courts.
The former deputy president who abandoned reinstatement is now seeking compensation retirement benefits attached to the office and damages.
13th of May, that is next Wednesday, at 9 a.m., courtroom 418, our usual court.
Poking holes on the petitioner's submissions, the respondents have asked the court not to allow the invitation to substitute Parliament's decision, but rather adjudicate the matter. The hearing will continue next Wednesday, whereby the cardiologist Dan Gikonyo is set to appear before the court and shed more light, as he will be cross-examined by the Senate and the National Assembly's Council. Ruth Wamboi reporting from Milimani Ceremonial Hall.
The shortage of dentists and poor oral health awareness in terms of North North constituency, Busia County, are forcing hundreds of residents to live with chronic dental problems, often ending in painful tooth extractions. According to the Kenya Dentist Association, the country has 2,000 registered dentists against the population of over 50,000 people. These and more stories in next County Roundup.
Speaking during a free medical camp at Kocholia Medical Training College, Teso North dentists led by Dr. Farouk Saratia and Lien Dero challenged locals to have regular dental checkups. The professionals added that the severe shortage of dentists in rural areas, coupled with low oral health awareness, has left many families in Teso North suffering from long-term dental problems.
What I aim to do is to bring an increased level of dental intelligence to the community by teaching them, reviewing with them, and helping them to level up their oral health knowledge.
Every 6 months, get a cleaning, get your mouth checked for any tumors or any decay that is starting.
Elsewhere, tuk-tuk operators in Nyahururu town in Laikipia County have staged protests accusing the county leadership of harassment after they were allegedly barred from operating along the Nyahururu-Laikipia University Road despite their compliance with all the required procedures.
Sisi wafanyakazi katika maofisi tulikuwa tunatumia 40 to 1 hour. Sasa wakati tuk-tuk zilikuja tumeweza kufanya ile time management. Watu hatuchelewi kwa ofisi, wanafunzi hawachelewi.
Meanwhile, His Eminence Archbishop Andreas Macarius says the Orthodox Church Education Program, offering free education to vulnerable children at St. Clement Orthodox Primary School in Dagoretti South, has enabled many children to acquire quality education.
They are not able to pay the school fees, but we are giving them the opportunity at this moment to study free.
Finally, youths in Kilifi have been urged to take advantage of vocational training opportunities available in local institutions to acquire skills that will open doors to employment.
I urge the managers to diversify the courses so that wanafunzi wanapotaka kusoma course tofauti tuwe tunaweza kusomesha hawa vijana ili wawe watafit in the job market. And I've always been saying as the CC, we are not only training for Kilifi jobs, we are training for Kenya, we are training for the whole world.
Joy Naomi, reporting for Prime Edition.
Time now to look at the business world, where Safaricom has reported a 73.7 billion shillings in full-year net profit, up 61% from 46 billion shillings, pushed up by higher service revenue and narrower losses from the Ethiopian subsidiary. The company has proposed a final dividend payout of 1 shillings and 15 cents.
M-Pesa revenue grew 13.4% to 182.7 billion shillings. Connectivity revenue rose 9.8% to 211.4 billion shillings, while fixed service and IoT's revenue increased 12.8% to 20.01 billion shillings. Overall, service revenue increased 11.5% to 414.14 billion shillings. This pushed up the net profit from the Kenyan operations from 94.95 billion shillings to 118.35 billion shillings. However, the Ethiopian subsidiary remained in the red, posting an earnings loss before interest and taxes of 30.1 billion shillings. This was key in cutting Safaricom Group's profit to 73.7 billion shillings.
We have sustained strong growth in service revenue, driven primarily by M-Pesa and data, while maintaining profitability despite the continued investment in Ethiopia.
The teleco has proposed a final dividend payout of 1 shilling and 15 cents, which, in addition to the 85 cents per share interim dividends, pushes up then total dividend payout of this year to 80.13 billion shillings.
We are proud to announce a record dividends for financial year 26 of 2 shillings. And I know 2 shillings sounds like a small number. Let me put it now in numbers, totaling 80 billion Kenya shillings, which is a 66 a 66.7% increase year-on-year on dividends.
Safaricom is worried that elevated geopolitical tensions, including the conflict involving Iran, could affect foreign exchange.
Geopolitical uncertainty, inflationary pressures, currency volatility, changing consumer dynamics, war in the Middle East continue to affect the cost of doing business and customer affordability.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Benson Rioba, for that report. Inadequate financing is a major hindrance in the adoption of green buildings in the country. The government is banking on the draft National Green Fiscal Incentives Policy Framework. It says once operationalized will spur adoption of green buildings in the country. The policy provides green fiscal reforms that will drive investment in projects and programs that adopt climate-friendly mechanisms.
From a certification perspective, I would say you need to consider energy efficiency, you need to look at water conservation, the quality of air quality within the home, and lastly, the materials that you use in building.
Stakeholders at the Green Building Standard and Certification Workshop explored how green building standards and certification systems can be leveraged to strengthen risk assessment and underwriting, unlock green finance product, and accelerate investment in low-carbon and climate-resilient buildings in the industry.
We are keen on developing an e-building, a national e-buildings permitting, approval, and management system that is an enabler system or a platform for all the regulatory institutions, for all the counties, for all stakeholders that are involved in the building approval process.
If you're looking for, global tenants or players who want access to premium developments, in terms of also finance, if you're looking for funding, a lot of financiers now are looking at investing in projects which are green.
Deputy Director, Safety and Climate Resilience at the State Department for Public Works, Kennedy Matheka, noted that the Green Fiscal Incentive will offer incentives to investors to spur the uptake and adoption of green buildings in the country.
Government developed the Green Incentive Policy in the year 2025 to cover the wider public sector, and therefore we are required as a sector now to come forward and develop sector-specific proposals that should be forwarded to the National Treasury for consideration.
Matheka acknowledged the challenges in the sector, pledging to address the issues mapped out for reforms.
We have mapped a clear roadmap on how to solve most of the issues that have been raised over time, and this is part of the the development framework or the reform agenda that we have put forward as a ministry, so that we address most of the issues that have been raised as challenges of the sector.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troenjue.
Businesses should explore opportunities along the ongoing 749-kilometer infrastructure development under the Horn of Africa Gateway Development Project. Kenya National Highways Authority Regional Director Engineer Howard Momanyi says the corridor is expected to support businesses engaged in livestock, mining, trade and construction sectors. Regina Manyara with the details.
The Horn of Africa Gateway Development Project, which cuts across parts of Isiolo and Meru counties, is expected to reshape northern Kenya's economic landscape by improving mobility, opening up new markets, and lowering the cost of doing business.
We have completed most of the major structures. All the 38 box culverts are done. The bridges are at 80% complete. The crosspipe culverts are at 70% complete. Improved subgrade layer works are at about 55% complete. Our target for this year is to complete 90 kilometers of road. That will work out to about 70% of the project.
The infrastructure project is expected to significantly strengthen trade within the Horn of Africa region, while also supporting value addition of livestock and minerals.
Apart from the livestock that is existing now and people just walking around grazing, what if they could do something fundamentally different on the breeding, on growing, on the treatment, the husbandry side of it, so that, for example, you have species that are able to reproduce more, so that we're able to move more camels to Saudi Arabia from the north. We're able to move more goats to Germany. We're able to move more sheep, and the kind of activities that largely support the living and the economy of this area.
Coordinated investments in transport, energy, and digital connectivity are expected to trigger a structural shift in employment patterns. Beyond mobility, the project will stimulate auxiliary services such as warehousing, hospitality, retail, and housing, especially in emerging urban centers along the corridor.
Once this particular project is complete, it no longer talks about connectivity, but also gives the people of Kenya, and especially this region, a lifeline of social-economic development. I'm Regina Manyara reporting from Kilometer Zero in Isiolo County for KBC Channel 1.
Thank you, Regina, for keeping us up to date on the developments taking place in northern part of Kenya. Kenya is pushing ahead with major reforms for savings and credit cooperative organizations, aiming to strengthen governance, safeguard member savings, and improve financial resilience. The new reforms proposed creation of a deposit guarantee fund to secure member deposits and a central liquidity facility to stabilize the cooperative movement in the country.
The Sacco Society's Amendment Bill of 2025 seeks to strengthen regulation, oversight, and financial stability within savings and credit cooperative organizations. This is by establishing a secondary Sacco for Central Liquidity Facility for Saccos, mandatory licensing by the Sacco Society's regulatory authority, and stricter governance, including jail terms for breaches. The cooperative's cabinet secretary says the new reforms will ensure that only well-capitalized Saccos operate, protecting members and the broader financial system.
We are also establishing a stabilizing fund that will make sure that if there is financial stress of any Sacco, they are able to tap into a stabilization fund until they stabilize.
Oparanya has underscored the role of corporate social investments in impacting local communities while reinforcing financial stability.
So we have been doing a lot of CSR, and we don't call them CSR, we call them corporate social investment. When I say investment, that means that the money we put in the project that we are doing, we will always get returns to this investment.
This project reflects a deep understanding of corporate social responsibility, and as the chairman has said, as a corporate social investment, not merely as an obligation, but as a strategic investment in people, in institutions, and the country at large.
They were speaking during the launch of a saluting dais constructed by the Kenya National Police DT Sacco at GSU Embakasi Barracks in Nairobi that will be used by the disciplined forces during events.
The Saccos tell us that corporate social investments like this one behind me are what attracts members into their institutions. Alan Aoko, Prime Edition.
Many thanks, Alan Aoko. Mount Kilimanjaro is a perfect backdrop at near Amboseli National Park for photographers and nature enthusiasts in the month of May. Amboseli National Park's expansive savannas are green after the recent rains breathed new life into the landscape, offering stunning views of Mount Kilimanjaro's snow-capped peaks, as highlighted tonight on Magical Scenes.
Amboseli National Park offers breathtaking views of nature's finest artistry. Situated at the foot of the majestic Mount Kilimanjaro, Amboseli National Park is a lush paradise, offering an unrivaled spectacle that captivates the hearts of all who venture here. During this time of the year, the park's expansive savannas are a vibrant green thanks to the rains that have breathed new life into the landscape. This is considered the perfect backdrop for photographers and nature enthusiasts eager to capture the iconic mountain. The wildlife here are in full flourish during this time of the year. Herds of elephants, for which the park is renowned, traverse the plains with a graceful majesty, their young ones playfully trailing behind. The park's wetlands attract several bird species, bird watchers finding themselves in an avian paradise. Here, predators too are more visible as they take advantage of the abundance of prey.
National Park is very beautiful because of the wildlife which is present within the park. Within the park, we have over 56 mammals which can be seen from time to time. And we also have all except one when we talk about the big five. We have the lions, we have the leopards, we have the cheetahs, we have the buffaloes, all can be seen in the park at any given time. And so apart from that, Amboseli is also known as the home of African elephants because of the number of elephants which are residing within the park. And so it is only within Amboseli when you can be able, where you are able to see a large herds of elephants at any one given time.
So whether you are seeking adventure, tranquility, or inspiration, Amboseli will offer you memories that you can treasure long after you leave. Nchuma Odim, Magical Sense, in Kajiado.
Changa, mnaleta kotini sababu ya 250,000 only. Kumbuka kurudi chini nilikutana na ngumi ya kifua papo kaji. Nikamuuliza bwana, "Unie tunaulizana nini?" Hiyo strike yetu ni mtu ya kukocha goli akapiga mpira mpaka Northwest. Sasa si hivyo ndio ile fundisho.
Anaona hao watu wengine hao iko chini, hakuna kitu unaweza waambia yeye.
So they come to the guys inside. Walitoa fujo, wakatukanana, halafu vitu zangu za hoteli zikafunjwa. TV yangu ile kubwa ya 2 inches ikafunjwa.
Tulia. 2 inches ni gani?
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunajifunza jinsi ya kukuza kitunguu saumu.
Ukitaka kupata mbegu, unaenda kwa mtu mwenye amelima, unaiona hapa, unaona ndio. Practically unaona kwa macho. Ninakuuzia gari inaitwa Rwanda. Hiyo Rwanda unaiona wapi? Iko hapa.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Well, I was talking about the advertising industry in the world. And you're looking at a sector which is expected to grow in terms of revenue to about 1.36 trillion US dollars. That is huge. when you factor in that the economy of Africa combined is about 3.2 trillion US dollars. So you're talking about big numbers. And the US market will continue to dominate this industry, generating revenues of up to 511 billion US dollars. These are huge numbers that I'm throwing around recklessly, but they make a point. Even here in Kenya, the sector is expected to grow, and revenues are expected to top about 200 billion Kenya shillings by the year 2030. Those are also huge numbers here. And so guess who is going to break down the numbers for us and help us understand where the trend is going? We're talking to Dipesh Jha. He's the co-founder of The Partners, one of the leading creative agency here in Kenya. Thank you very much, Dipesh, for joining us here. You were telling me that you've been in this space for 3 decades.
You just gave away my age. Yeah, but yes, I've been in this industry for precisely 31 years.
What have you learned?
My God. I think advertising is a brilliant industry. As a creative person, it is challenging because decade on decade, advertising has reinvented itself. So to keep pace as an industry creative person, you have to learn new skills on the fly. So, I mean, one thing that every person in advertising will truly understand is what you have to learn is to accept change. And that is the biggest lesson that we have learned as an industry. And surprisingly, when it comes to applying technology and learnings into media, advertising is usually at the forefront of testing that technology.
And I mean, 3 decades is not a short time. And you're talking about the changes and the transformation that has happened in this space in the last 3 decades. Which one is the most profound for you?
It's good to ask a question, which is more profound. I think if we talk in the current terms, where we are living in the age of generative AI and AI in our lives, I think one of the most profound things that I have learned and seen and observed, and a lot of industry is also picking up, is that strangely enough, AI is teaching emotional fluency back to people and the importance of it. So, I mean, in a world that is going to be dictated by a lot of AI sameness, I think 2 things are going to be very good, which is the absolute acceptance of human imperfection. That is going to be celebrated.
The human imperfection.
Absolutely. It's the same thing like when you look at crafts. Today, a handmade item is way more expensive than a machine-made item, whereas CNC and cutting technology has reached another level. But when you buy something, so similarly, advertising is going to celebrate a lot of human fluency. And that is the biggest learning lesson for me.
I mean, there is a feeling that the human face in advertising is fast being replaced by graphics, by robots, by AI.
I have to tell you this story.
Please do.
Of technology and advertising's understanding of technology. I mean, I say this story to a lot of people, but 2005, I was at Cannes during the, Cannes Lion is the biggest advertising festival. I was there. And Honda that year won the Marketer of the Year award. And when they announced the award, guess who walked up to the stage? It was Asimo, the Honda robot. And that was 20 years back. So from that day, we have been constantly under the threat that, technology is going to take over advertising. They invented a robot in Japan that could write copy literally. Fluency with a pen. Today, generative AI can generate copy. But it's not going to replace. I think the misconception is that generative AI is a substitute to human talent, but it's the other way around. It is because AI only learns from what we put out, and we still have the capability to put out way more intelligent things that AI learns from us.
And so what I'm getting from you is that we are not looking at a situation whereby the human hand, the human mind, the human eyes will be removed completely from the game.
Not at all. Not at all. Actually, in fact, the flip side is happening. So there are a few things. You've got to understand agentic AI, generative AI, and the impact of AI in culture. And I'll explain that very, very simply. Agentic AI does not really live in the advertising world. It's more for industries. AI as efficiency definitely is going to take over, and it is going to impact jobs because there are things like planning, execution of items. Those roles will get replaced by AI because it's way more efficient. So I'll give you an example. I mean, we upgraded our software in the agency. We're called the partnership. So when we upgraded the software, and I come from an era, since I have given away my age, when my, I'll tell you, honestly, the first Apple machine that was lying in our office in India was, we booted it on, there was just one machine, that's all the office could afford. When it turned on, the screen was color, but the only thing it could do was move text around. And today, you've come to a place where, AI can do that to a level which is phenomenal. You take a Photoshop when we go in and you want to change the background, you can change it in one prompt. So efficiency, speed, all of that is going to go up. But does it replace the person behind the machine? No. We have not reached that place where anyone can walk up to that software and ask for it to do something. It still requires the expert to control it.
Help me understand this. I mean, when you look at the advertising value chain, you have multiple professionals involved, from copywriters to producers, directors, creative writers, and authors. Going forward, who is at risk of losing their job?
Interesting. So what's going to happen is, I think, largely the execution teams.
The execution
teams are going to have to either skill up or absolutely upskill themselves or become redundant. But what's not going to get affected is the core thinking team, because the advertising, like the sameness in strategy will be felt in 2 to 3 presentations if you try and build your decks from AI. Because you'll find if you go into a pitch, you have 3 people pitching and they put in the same problem. AI will generate the same 3 solutions in 3 different laptops. We've tried it in office. We've asked AI to prompt solutions, and all of us sitting in the room, we died laughing. We get the same response. So there is, you see, we have got to avoid this, I like to call is the beige age, which is everything will look the same. So I think it's execution that is under threat, not thinking.
When you look at the integration of AI, generative AI, machines, Internet of Things, will the industry get better?
Yes.
Or what is going to happen going forward? Or will it become complicated?
No, Brian, that's very interesting. I mean, I was so tempted to give you a LinkedIn answer to that and throw some industry jargons at you. Like AI as a layer of reality, purpose as statement, etc. But I think the best way to answer that question is to flip it and see what does the consumer have to gain from this era, and that sort of will answer this very clearly for you. What's going to happen? 2 things. Is that typically where advertising started was a show performed on stage under harsh lights in a studio. We shot a commercial, we put it out, and then we hoped and prayed that the consumer would like it. You see, that's where it started. Today, where we are is that the consumer is going to get more and more in control of what that advertising is going to look like. Not through a pre-quali research to say, I don't like this or I want it, but they will slowly become brand custodians. Today, like you support a club, you are the owner of that brand.
Yeah.
A similar narrative is going to be written in advertising, where if you like a brand, you will become a brand champion.
Yeah.
And technology will empower brands to co-create with not just influencers, but with their end consumers. So that's the biggest shift that is going to happen.
That is going to shape this industry going forward. When you study, consumer trends, do they prefer commercials or adverts generated by human beings, or the ones that are generated by AI, machines, and robotics?
A very, very good question. You see, I think there are 2 parts to look at it. the software creators who are going to sell this as software as a, like a service. So they will, as a subscription, so they will push for generative AI making things. So if you see the video creator and all of the things that you see on socials, very slowly what is happening is that the novelty value of having created something is dying very fast. So I think generative AI will have a place, but a lot of brands are choosing very wisely and ethically over how they use generative AI. For example, content creation, what is the source of that content idea coming from? Is it ownable? If it is not, it's not ethical. Second thing is that if you are replacing, I mean, you would have understood long back, I can't take brand names, can I?
Yeah.
You can't, because they were just in the news you had in the segment earlier. There was a huge confrontation that the industry had with that particular brand using generative AI models in outdoor to make it cheaper and not use human models. So I think a lot of brands have learned is that when it comes to humans, and that's where emotion fluency comes, it will still have to be human, not AI. But AI can come in to make other processes cheaper. For example, speaking in industry terms, like if I have to show scale and I shoot you and I want to change the background and make you stand on top of Eiffel Tower, it's possible today without going to shoot in Paris.
Yeah.
So those things...
So it brings down the cost.
It brings down the cost. I think what AI is becoming is a great tool in the hands of creative people to finally even tell small clients that, you may not have the budget, but here is a big idea and I can execute it for you at a very nominal cost. AI is not free, by the way.
There's a cost, definitely.
There is, and there are going to be AI specialists. So I can't disclose brand names, but there's somebody that we're working with where we are creating something with AI, and it's an AI director based in LA who specializes in creating this, and the output is so different from what you and I would prompt. So it's not that AI will take away jobs, it'll also create specialists who will be able to harness this power and to create things fluidly.
Dipesh, when you are, and I like the fact that you've been around, for quite a long time, and so you've seen many sunshines. And when you work on a commercial, when you work on an advert that is heavy on AI, that is heavy on robots and artificial intelligence, and on the other hand, you work on a concept that is heavy on human beings, does it feel the same?
So, to put it, to explain, is that, technology and AI has reached a place where when you work with AI, it's like how much brand bravery do you have? In the sense that how much is your canvas in doing it? So, within AI, you can have the same amount of fun and delight in creation and output as you can with absolutely human-based products. So whether it's shooting a commercial or doing a still or thinking of an idea that does not involve technology. So strangely enough, like I said, advertising will always test the frontiers. And so far, it has been so good that both can coexist without fighting for each other.
If you have a child who is planning to venture into this space and they are planning to go to college and study advertising, what would you tell them?
I would say that you're going to have it way easier than we did in terms of the number of hours, because AI is going to take away the chore part of advertising and give you enough time to think. Because in advertising, like we always tell clients, and this is my personal best, go-to dialogue when I tell people, is that we are in an industry where intelligence is a unit of time. Because we are constantly the 11th hour specialists. So in the final 11th hour, if you can give me more time to think and less to execute, you're giving me an advantage. And that is what AI is bringing to the table.
When you look at, the Kenyan trainings industry, are you convinced that we are churning out graduates who are job ready, who are market ready?
I think so. I think, you see, every market has a certain scale. And given the scale of what marketing is developing in Kenya, there are institutes, there are universities, and there are programs in which, like even we work, and we make it a point to always have a few people that we are training as we're doing, because advertising is more than theory. So if I were to put a sort of a number to it, and Riz can put a number to it, I'd say the theory in advertising is about 20 to 25% of your talent.
Oh, quite a percent.
Yes, and 75% would come from how you experience and apply that talent. So this is an industry that relies on constantly honing its skills, and the same applies to the talent. So I think we're doing quite well. We're not a very large industry, but we have extremely talented people in the office. What is also endearing is that there is a very large proportion of them, which is Gen Zs. And the transition between the earlier generation, which I came into 15 years back in Kenya, to now has been seamless. And there's some fantastic talent
that is coming up.
Yeah.
And of course, the pool is still big.
Absolutely.
When you look at, the Kenyan market, 15 years ago when you joined the Kenyan market vis-a-vis today, are companies still advertising as they used to?
Yes, I think so. Surprisingly enough, like a lot of people say that the advertising budgets will get cut. I think it's a media thing, where and a certain amount would not go into production in a way that it would. So production houses are impacted. There's a certain amount of television that would probably not happen, or print that would not happen. So certain traditional channels have been hit. Now that is an outlier, but not a marker of how much money is going into advertising. There is still a lot of content creation going in. There is still a lot of influencer that is happening. And by God's grace, we are busy. And a lot of clients, big and small, are constantly pushing their product, because of a very good factor is that, Kenya as a market also has a great variety of products now available. So, it's not a supermarket that was dominant. If you yourself go back and see, in 2010, how many supermarkets did you have? Today, how many supermarkets do you have? There is a new one in a new town called a chain, which is there. So do you see, the more the market gets, it gets busy, and the more the advertising becomes more relevant.
Look, for example, the media has traditionally relied on advertising market for its sustenance, whereby unless you're a national broadcaster, whereby you're funded by the states, correct, if you're a commercial entity, 80-90% of your budget comes from advertising. Today, is it wise to open a media house where you are source of revenue is advertising?
So, I could pitch this as an idea to the station, but
go ahead.
But I think if you follow publishers and media houses, the ones that have done well, that have survived the internet era, survived the social era, and are still doing well, is I think what they've done is they've constantly reinvented themselves to be relevant. Without taking names, if you follow them, right from fashion publishers to news publishers to media houses that have turned out the same content, not to be placed in platforms, but to be created for those particular platforms. They are the ones that have been successful, and those media houses are still relevant, and those publishing platforms are still read. They may be browsed, flicked, scrolled up and down, as opposed to thumbed and sort of paused at, or with remote controls. You see, the format has changed, but the cleverer publishers and media houses have really learned to not just say the same story and print it in another channel, but redo the storytelling for that particular platform or channel. That's where the success lies.
And when you look at the Kenyan market, and then you juxtapose these with the international trends, what is going to shape this industry, in the years ahead of us?
Shape the industry from which perspective?
From where we are now. What is going to drive change?
I think the change is already happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's strange. Is that The beauty about technology and adoption is that you've got to understand is that the software that we use here is exactly the software that is being used anywhere in the best agency in the world. So our media approach, our tools, our people, so I don't think Kenya is behind. I think where Kenya is evolving will be about the bravery of brands. And I think, I'm not, all my marketers are my friends, I'm not putting the pressure on them. But you see, we are the seller, they are the buyer. Where there is a willing buyer is where the conversion will happen. So I think brands have to start getting braver, and I'm seeing that. Recently, the conversations we are having with some of our clients, the barrier to accepting braver ideas or different out-of-the-box ideas is sort of the threshold is going down because it's becoming relevant now. Earlier, it was a luxury. Oh, let me do the safe thing, and I can still sell. Today, that safety net is gone because a cosmetic brand, you could have a very big logo on your cosmetic brand, but it could be outsold by, like a TikTok influencer with selling her own brand. So you're competing with her. And if you have to compete with her, then you have to fight like her. And that is what is making marketers braver. So, yeah, I mean, that change is happening.
It's really going to be dynamic going forward. And we are seeing also a situation whereby we are seeing a lot of brand specialists, also coming into this, into the stage, competing with traditional marketers and advertisers. Are you seeing a situation whereby, like, the three are going to be collapsed into one?
So advertisers,
brand specialists, and marketers. Brand marketers.
Brand marketers. So I'll say this is that you see, not to start to hate anyone. So there are brand specialists. So these are consultants. Yes. Is what you're referring to. I think consultants will have their place. Probably they would be under a little bit more threat because some of the industry knowledge and platform basics are going to be readily available. So, I mean, if you go in today and you you write up a few things as a prompt on AI, it can give you a platform. So the platform knowledge is now becoming table stakes. So that's where consultants used to be, is that I have the tools to tell you what is happening, because the implementation of the tools was always third party. So I think that's a big question mark. I think marketers are never going to get threatened. Good marketers are the engine.
You're still going to have them around.
Good marketers are the engine of great advertising. It's the other way around. A lot of agencies feel that they are the engine. I always feel that it is great marketers who are the engine of advertising, because without them, there is no content. So we can only, it's like saying when you go to play a match, you're only as good as your opponent. And for us, the person across the table is a marketer. So we are challenged by them. The more they challenge us, the braver they are, the better the advertising gets. So I don't think the first and the last are going to get irrelevant. The question is going to be on consultants. I think the best consultant will still stay, but it is average advice that's going to die.
As we come to the end of this conversation, Dipesh, I also want to hear from you. In terms of regulation, I mean, when you look at the Kenyan market, it's not highly regulated, as you talk about other segments of the market, like, the financial sector. Do you see any policy formulation or regulatory framework that should come into place to help in the growth of advertising market in Kenya?
I think it's a very fair question. So, in my stay in Kenya, for 2 years, I was also the vice chair for Marketing Society of Kenya. I held that role for a while. I don't think it is for the lack of trying. So I have seen very good people in organizations trying to bring in legislation that makes field for advertisers too. There are small things like pitch fees, plagiarism. Those are the kind of things that affect the execution part of advertising. Then there is legislation that helps protect the people who work in the industry. So I think people are trying, but I don't think it has come to a place where both, I think, the film industry, the media, when you talk about it, the execution part, neither the film industry nor advertising have been sort of really benefited from legislations that protect it. So I think a little work there would really help push creation of talent, protection of jobs, and I also think the integrity of the industry and fairness to people who are in that.
Before I let you go, what is your advice to anybody watching this newscast and wondering, how do I get into this space?
Call us. PSU.
Is that simple?
No, I think advertising is...
Do you need like a set of trades, talent, or you just come as you are?
So it's a very, what I love about advertising is that this one part about advertising has never changed. We are an industry of oddballs. We do have specialists who are trained in art or in the design. Writers come from any industry. I've had colleagues who are lawyers, doctors, ex-military, strange, from very different professions. People have come and been great advertising successes in advertising. Mm-hmm. So I think advertising is an industry that has always welcomed people to learn on the job, and I think it'll always remain that way.
Very good. Anything else?
This was a wonderful conversation, Brian, and if it was longer, we would have had much more fun.
Very good. We'll definitely create more opportunities in the future.
All right.
Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you, Brian.
Asante sana.
Very good.
Well, Dipesh Jha is the co-founder of the Partners, and of course he's an advertising executive, very knowledgeable on these issues, and of course joining us tonight to help understand where the market trends are pointing to, what is the future of advertising here in Kenya and beyond. Let's now have a look at international business news, where crude oil prices have sharply reduced in the last 24 hours, following reports of progress in diplomatic discussions between the United States and Iran, who are raising expectations that tensions in key Middle East shipping routes could change. Here are the details of these and other stories.
The price of Brent crude fell from $108 per barrel earlier in the day to $73 per barrel. Crude oil prices are still much higher than the $70 per barrel they were hovering around before the start of the US-Israel war with Iran, which has caused production and transportation of oil in the region to slump. Brent crude slipped as investors reacted to signals that negotiations between the United States and Iran could reopen access to critical energy corridors, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which a significant share of global oil supply passes. Analysts say the move reflects how sensitive global energy markets remain to geopolitical developments, with even early-stage diplomatic signals enough to trigger rapid price adjustments. Meanwhile, the European Central Bank is warning that despite progress in banking and sovereign debt integration, the Eurozone continues to struggle with fragmented equity markets that are limiting investment flows and weakening its global competitiveness. Officials say cross-border investment remains far below potential, with structural barriers such as differing regulations and taxation systems still slowing financial unity across member states. The European Central Bank says this fragmentation is now one of the key risks to long-term growth and innovation in the region. And finally, producer prices have continued to fall, signaling persistent deflationary pressure in the world's second-largest economy. Factory gate prices declined again in the latest readings, driven by weak domestic demand and excess industrial capacity across key sectors. Economists say the trend is increasing pressure on policymakers to introduce further stimulus measures, even as China tries to balance short-term growth support with longer-term financial stability concerns. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
It's so much more than that. So the story is the story of the Bible, and it's taking you from creation or Genesis all the way to Revelation.
Using the latest light detection and 3D laser technology, you can literally interact with the walls.
Suddenly, I'm a little kid again, and I could go and create and paint on the walls.
I just wanted my mom to look me in the eyes and say, "Son, I love you," at the end of the day, and give me kisses on my forehead, on my cheeks, but I never received that.
John Nicholas's mother worked long hours raising 5 children alone. The stress took its toll, and she took her anger out on her kids. When John was just 7 years old, his mother beat him with her high heels. This went on for years. By the time John was 15, his mother kicked him out of the house.
Irene Muigai.
My name is Steve Muigai Kim. We met at campus while we were at Egerton University, Joro.
I just saw a guy and we grew to be very good friends.
Lakini alikuwa nakatiwa anakuja ananiambia niliachwa.
And he asked me to be the girlfriend.
Dad did not attend their wedding.
Mom, dad ako wapi? Kwani hawajafika? My uncle had to be pulled.
We differed. Ile mbaya ile ya kuachana just because of a key holder. Was it a key holder?
And so I'm very intentional as a mom to help my kids process things.
Who apologizes first after a fight? Oh.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. Kenya joined the rest of the world in celebrating Kids World Athletics Day, marked every 7th of May, where they engage in various sports activities. Kenya is keen to defend its overall title, won last year for the best organization of the Kids Athletics Day.
Over 300 kids from several schools in Nairobi converged at Toi Primary in Kibera to mark the day, which was also celebrating 5 years since World Athletics introduced the program to inspire the young generation of athletes and nurture talents.
The structures that has been put in place by Athletics Kenya, especially during training camps, holiday training camps, has assisted in bringing the interest from the public, especially the communities, the parents, the teachers and the schools. They have seen the results from those events that during the holidays they are trained and bringing a lot of interest, especially when they see other athletes participating and also succeeding and winning other events.
Athletics Kenya has engaged leads throughout the country who are conducting a series of kids athletics activities from today till 30th May before submitting the report to the World Athletics, after which the best country will be unveiled and rewarded with prize money, which will go towards the development of the youth programs.
We hope that in the near future, these are the future talents, and we could actually see the talents here, like in hurdling, we can see the hurdlers, the sprinters, and as we are aware, last year, Kenya won the World Athletics title in kids athletics. So we hope so this year we will also win.
Sports is nurtured from the schools, and which is now supported by Athletics Kenya professionally, so that now we work hand in hand with the Ministry of Education and Athletics Kenya to nurture the talent.
Kenya is keen to defend its overall title it won last year for the best organization of the kids' athletics.
Now, Bunge volleyball team staged a remarkable comeback to defeat the Beast by 3-1 in an exciting Kenya Volleyball Federation Men's League Division 2 second leg clash at the Nyayo National Stadium. After dropping the opening set 17-25, Bunge responded strongly to take control of the match, winning the next 3 sets 25-22, 25-16 and 25-21. The victory keeps Bunge's campaign on track as teams continue battling for crucial points in the league standings. In other fixtures, Kenyatta University delivered a dominant straight sets victory over Kenya Navy. KU cruised to a 3-0 set win with set scores of 25-20, 25-08 and 25-22, showcasing their strength on both attack and defense. Meanwhile, the University of Nairobi men's team secured maximum points without touching a ball after micro spikers failed to show up for their scheduled encounter, handing UN a walkover victory. Simla overpowered Desert Warriors by 3-1 in another match.
Game in Budapest, having traveled some 500 miles away.
And KCB Rugby Club will face Kabras Sugar in the Kenya Cup finals this Saturday at the ASK Showground in Kakamega, with the Bunkers eyeing an historic 9th title. The last time the two sides met, they played to a 10-all draw before the match was eventually disrupted by heavy rain. KCB last reached the Kenya Cup final in 2024, where they fell 29-5 to the same opponents, and this year they will be seeking redemption in the final. KCB has been boosted by the return of their 7 stars, including George Oro, Festus Shiasi, Samuel Asati and Vincent Onyala.
It's a challenge to us as players, as the technical bench, to be able to prepare our players as much as we can to be able to get into that finals and to be able to do our best to be able to bring us the cup that we've earned for a very long time.
A final, it's not an ordinary match like the other league game. That's a game of points, and that's where you'll know who stands on pressure. And I believe the boys have trained enough, they have bonded enough, and me joining them in this camp yesterday, they have had quite a good bonding within the team, and that's a plus, and that is a driving force to us as we go for the finals.
And Festus Kipkemoi scored a lone goal to hand APS Bomet an 8th win of the season, beating KCB by a goal to nil in front of their home fans, supported by Interior Cabinet Secretary and club patron Kipchuma Murkomen at the Kiprugut Chuma Stadium in Kericho. Elated by the win, CS Murkomen said that the team has all his backing and they should endeavour to avoid relegation at the end of the season. APS Bomet are 13th on the FKF Premier League table with 34 points, 4 points above the danger zone with 4 matches to go.
We have a very big challenge for infrastructure. As I have said, we don't have a stable home ground because of the pitch. And I'm very happy that His Excellency the President has put aside over 900 million shillings to build a new stadium in Bomet. That will be the home stadium of APS Bomet. I'm also happy that Kapkatet Stadium in this Kericho and this particular stadium, Green Stadium in town, is also being renovated and Kapkatet is being built. I believe that there is a lot of talent in this region. In the past, the focus has always been athletics, but you can see there are more. There's a lot of talent in all kinds of sports, including football. We take sports very seriously as one way of integrating with society, but also dealing with mental health challenges. We believe that also through sports we are going to give more opportunities to Kenyans, and this is also a job opportunity for them, and it's a place where they can further their career. At the same time, they have secured employment for future.
That's the sport for today. More coming your way tomorrow, even as we look into the weekend. My name is Daniel Wahome. Back to you, O'Brien.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel Wahome, for the sports brief. Your time is highly appreciated. At that point, we come to the end of the Prime Edition tonight. Thank you very much indeed for watching the nation's most trusted newscast with me, O'Brien Kimani. We have been coming to you live from Broadcasting House on behalf of the entire production team, from camera people, producers to floor managers. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Changa, mnaleta kotini sababu ya 250,000 only. Kumbuka kurudi chini nilikutana na ngumi ya kifua bubu kaji. Nikamuuliza bwana, ndiye tunaulizana nini? Hiyo striker yetu ni mtu ya kukosa goli, akapiga mpira mpaka Northwest. Sasa si hivyo ndio ile foundation.
Anaona hao watu wengine hao iko chini, hakuna kitu unaweza waambia yeye.
So they come, they do the guys inside. Walitoa fujo, wakatukanana, halafu vitu zangu za hoteli zikafunjwa. TV yangu ile kubwa ya 2 inches ikafunjwa.
Tulia. 2 inches ni gani?
What do you do when the young girl, the little girl that you raised, becomes a grown woman with her own voice, her own choices, and her own perspective? How do you learn as a mother how to let go? And how do daughters learn how to understand the women who raised them?
I am particularly worried about the kind of friends she makes.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I do not want to let her just walk out.
She's more concerned about who I am, how I portray myself, how I think, how I speak, all that, instead of what does society think about you.
I want to be someone that you say, what is your problem? Like, if it's that issue, talk to me.
Talk to me. Tell me I had a bad day.
You will have to evolve yourself. Yes, not your children evolving, but you yourself evolving to be able to cope and adapt.
So for me, it's easier. But the truth is, having to give birth 2 years in a row was a mess for me.
Hello good people, God has been faithful. This morning nimepigiwa simu na wale watu wa Turkana. Nakumbuka baby nakuja, nikapigiwa na ni brother ya baba yake.